Are you listening? Damn.
All right, welcome to our Week 14 review show here on AFC North Talk. We're going to be talking about some big games here in the AFC North. Of course, the Bengals lost to the Dallas Cowboys. My Steelers lost to the Buffalo Bills. And the Baltimore Ravens coming up with a big needed win on Monday night in Cleveland. We'll talk about all of that today. I am Tony Serino. I will represent the Pittsburgh Steelers. With me is Ace Boogie from New Stripe City. Ace, how are you?
I'm doing good. Welcome to darkness for my Browns and Steelers guys. Welcome to the darkness. I'm doing all right though.
We all wore black for the occasion.
Yeah, exactly. I'm wearing it says hold down the North. It should say cling to the North because that's what the Steelers are doing. They're clinging to first place. They're going to back into the division title. We also have Sonny feeling good in Baltimore right now. Sonny, how are you?
I'm feeling good from Baltimore all the way to the UK with 3 hours to sleep. But I was so pumped. I was like, I'm not going to sleep, man. You're just going to keep rolling, man. You're just going to keep rolling. Can't wait for the show.
Let's have Quincy Carrier. Quincy, how are you?
You know what? I'm doing better than a lot of people expect. It's going to be an interesting show.
Yeah, it should be.
Xbox Series X I botched my line. Secured. I botched it. Fumbled the ball.
Did you really get one?
I finally got one.
Oh, congratulations. Congratulations. Yep. All right. Well, I want to let everyone know before we get going here that Super Chats are open. So if you want to have your chat read on the show, Super Chats are open. So leave us a line there. We'll start today with Bengals Cowboys. Ace, Quincy and I thought this might be an Andy Dalton revenge game gone wrong, that the Bengals might actually slip up and win this one. They did not. The Cowboys run away with it. Your thoughts on the Bengals loss?
I mean, when we talked about it, I said that I thought the season couldn't get worse, but what would be more worse? Andy Dalton coming in and humiliating the Bengals, which is what he did. But it was a weird game, and I think me and Tony kind of talked about it beforehand. It was weird because the Bengals fumbled 3 straight times. It was extremely strange. Giovanni Bernard got benched after it. It was just a weird game. Honestly, I'm hoping that this game says if you're willing to get blown out by the team that's literally drafting behind you in the draft as of right now by that many points, it's time to move on from your coach. I'm not sure if they're going to do it. We didn't get any kind of Zach Taylor's been fired. So at this point, I'm looking at billboards. I'm looking at newspaper articles, anything to get the message across to get rid of Zach Taylor. But honestly, this game, Andy was looking forward to this game, but it was tough to watch for me. It was tough to watch, and the rest of the season is going to be tough to watch, especially with Brandon Allen. The one good thing that I will say in this game is I have to give a lot of respect to Brandon Allen for playing through that injury, trying to stay on the field and do his thing. I think Brandon Allen is, from what I can say, a decent backup quarterback. I'm not saying that he's the next great one, but he's a good guy. I think if the Bengals do keep him next year, he is a solid backup. Ryan Finley is not an NFL quarterback. It's a joke at this point, and I honestly don't think that the Bengals linemen even like him whatsoever. And I don't think he even wants to actually play football. So it's going to be interesting because the Bengals are taking on the Steelers next week in primetime with possibly Ryan Finley. That's somewhat scary. A nightmare season that's going to get worse because the Steelers can clinch the division against us. And this nightmare just continues. So for me, the only good thing that comes out of this is maybe you locked up Panay. We're pretty much locked in at the number 3 spot right now. So that's the good thing from that aspect. But we really have to see what's going to happen with this team going forward in terms of the coach. I don't think anyone in this chat understands why is Zach Taylor still here. I don't either. I'm not sure what to do.
What's the future of AJ Green with this team? Because I saw he got his first catches in a couple weeks in this one. You know, obviously he's had a really up and down season. There were times where I felt like him and Burrow were going to get on the same page, and then, you know, Burrow gets hurt. He goes quiet again. Is Bengal long for this team, or is AJ Green long for this team?
That's a great thing that you brought up because he actually talked after the game. This was a solid showing for AJ Green in this game. It was clear that, you know, he was still somewhat some of his former self. I'm not going to say that he's completely, but he showed flashes in this game. And to me, I think they interviewed him after the game, and they kind of asked him, hey, are you going to be in Cincinnati after this season? And he was non-committal on that, which is a smart thing for him to do at this point, right? Contract haven't been out there or anything. But he did say something interesting is the fact that he's the age that he is, he wants to win. It's not all about numbers, but it is about winning at this point, and that's going to come into the decision-making process for him. He still also doesn't think that he should be the third option in the offense. I think that a reporter said, hey, is there a specific role that you need to play in this? And he's like, I'm AJ Green. There's no role for me. That's not going to work. So I thought that was interesting as well. And to me, I've heard some whispers around with people saying that, this coaching staff possibly may have been making him the third look on certain plays. And I thought that was interesting. I had to go back and look at that. But there's been some people putting that out there. And it's not surprising because this staff, when they don't like certain players or they want to move on from certain players, such as Geno Atkins, which there's something that I heard about on that, they kind of try to make it presented that these players have fell off. We saw it with Carlos Dunlap. They refused to play him. When they did play him, they played him out of position. Geno Atkins, from what I've heard, they're playing him or they're forcing him to play with one arm and trying to sell it to the front office that he's done and they need to move on from him. And it's just a shame that they're doing things like that to make guys look bad, to move on from them. And I'm not sure if they're doing that with AJ Green. I'm not trying to make any accusations there, but it's pretty much leaning towards that direction. I did hear some things that worried me about Zach Taylor. I did hear some things such as him wanting to move on from Carl Lawson, which is kind of scary considering we only have 14 sacks on this season.
The pressure king?
The pressure king. Apparently, they just want to move on from him.
Top five
the Geno Atkins stuff, from what I've heard, the word before this game was that they're keeping Zach and they're keeping Lou Anarumu. So I hope that changed after that game, but it's very concerning. But AJ Green is not a lock to come back. Hopefully, we'll see how it ends. Obviously, I want him to retire a Bengal just for, culture purposes, but I would not be surprised if AJ Green does walk away.
There's another team in the North that needs a receiver, especially a tall receiver like that. I will be special.
If the Ravens killer joins the Ravens, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Again, though, I think Baltimore has the same problem, which is that free agents don't want to go there. So they, we'll see if that happens. Quincy, you and I both were on the same page last week. We thought the Bengals could pull off the upset here against Dallas. Don't know if you got a chance to watch this one. I don't know about you. I felt confident early on in this game, even after the first two fumbles. I still felt like this Bengals team had a chance. They're moving the football, and then it just collapsed. Your thoughts on Bengals Cowboys?
Part one of my Sunday. I woke up that Sunday. Browns didn't play. They played obviously on Monday. Thinking, hey man, good slate of games. Get to catch the Bengals on. I can switch to the Chiefs and the Dolphins. It's gonna be good. And then the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. That's got to be a good game. But I'll get to that when we get to that. Mm-hmm. But watch this game, and oh my goodness, I don't understand how Jack Taylor is the coach of the team. I mean, Brandon Allen threw 35 times against the Dallas Cowboys. Like, you can't run the ball a little bit more than that. You have to throw it with Brandon Allen. Like, that's how you have to beat the Dallas. This is a team with Lamar threw it 14 times again.
Very little.
Very little. You don't throw that much. Like, unless you're the Steelers and you don't have any run game. And even then, you should probably run the ball a little bit more against the Cowboys. You should run the ball. So they just refused to do it. I understand it had all these fumbles, just a bunch of weird stuff going on there. I thought the Bengals would bungle this up and give up Panay to the Cowboys. So, you didn't completely mess it up as far as your draft position. That is the silver lining. And that's what matters at this point, because any win would just help Zach Taylor keep his job. He should be fired immediately. This team stinks. And this team should not stink like this team stinks. It is a testament to how bad the coaching situation has been in both Dallas and Cincinnati. When you look at the rosters, that both those teams stink at that level. It tells you the coaching stinks. And I know I'm saying stinks a lot because it does. It stinks. And for the fact that Mike McCarthy came in here and thoroughly outcoached Zach Taylor when Mike McCarthy's been one of the worst coaches in football, that tells you everything you need to know about the guy. He stinks. He's not good. He's not going to grow into this job. Yes, there is an argument that young head coaches need to grow into a job and that they should be given time, but you got to show some promise. What promise has Zach Taylor showed you? He's won 4 games in 2 years. What is there left to evaluate with this guy? Why stick with him and potentially ruin your quarterback because right now he's putting AJ Green's arm behind his back and telling him to catch with one hand, and Geno Atkins is not being put. You literally have a coach who's going out there and telling his best players not to I'm not going to put you in the position to be successful. You don't think that's going to wrinkle in the heads of these younger players when they see him not put their veteran players in a good position to win? This guy is like, I compared him to Bill O'Brien. This is worse than Bill O'Brien, and it seems like they're more headstrong on keeping this guy than Bill O'Brien. It makes no sense to me. And I wasn't one of these people that came in thinking, oh, the Bengals organization is trash. Yes, they were cheap, but I didn't think they were incompetent to this level. But if they stick with Zach Taylor for year 3, and we've seen in this division, the Cleveland Browns, what it takes to get a coach to year 3, he gets to year 3, it will be one of the worst year 3 extensions since like Hugh Jackson got that 3rd year after going like 1-31. It's inexcusable. All you're doing is setting yourself up to be in an even sloppier situation when you just fire him in the middle of next year. So just get rid of him now when there's options available. I don't get what's going on there in Cincinnati. They haven't fired him yet. It's not like you're protecting Joe Burrow at this point, right? You don't want to see him. He's not there right now. He's rehabbing. So just blow it up. Get rid of this. Is toxic to the locker room. You're not going to be able to keep any of your veterans, which normally Cincinnati is able to do. You know you can't attract free agents. So now you're just relying on a draft and setting back that window for Joe Burrow 2-3 more years because you're keeping a stubborn coach. What is the positive? Like, I would love for a Bengal fan to legitimately try to sell me on what the positives is to keeping Zach Taylor through another year, or just like keeping him now. Like, what is the positive? What are the good things about this? I don't see it.
The worst part for those that didn't know, the Cowboys apparently only practiced one time this week and smoked the Bengals.
Because they play Tuesday.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing you have to say though is there's just not a lot. Look, Burrow's down right now. And so there's just not a lot of talent at quarterback. I mean, Brandon Allen, Brian Finley.
You still have Tyler Boyd. You still have all these T. Higgins. You still Gio Bernard is not like a dog or anything, but he's not.
Well, he got benched because he fumbled in this one.
Yeah, you got Samaje. Well, Samaje Perine done nothing in the NFL, but you're not terrible. You still got like Jesse Bates on. You're not like you're bad. You're 6-10 bad. You're 4-12 bad. You're not 2-game bad. Like, losing by 30 points to the Dallas Cowboys. Like, I saw Brandon Allen beat the Browns last year. He's not that awful. And he has pieces around him. The offensive line is awful. I get that. I'm not saying they're anything close to 500 right now. But to be this bad is a marker and to get outcoached by Mike McCarthy in 2020 this is supposed to be a young guy who's supposed to have his pulse on the future of the league. Does that look like a guy who has the pulse on the future of anything? Getting coached by the guy who's calling plays from 2012. Come on.
Yeah,
there's no good reason to keep.
We have a super chat here from the Trib. Appreciated Trib. $5 says, last year the offense wasn't the issue. It was the defense. I don't think you fire the coach. Got to get defensive talent. Next year will be better, Ace. You'll go 6-10.
The offense, I don't know if he's talking about our offense, but it definitely wasn't an issue. It definitely was an issue. We definitely weren't scoring.
It's the O-line, right? It's the O-line.
The O-line, coaching staff it's just bad. I don't know what they're doing with Zach Taylor. It just looks bad.
We have another one here, $2 from Codex. Appreciate it. He says, I hope they keep Zach Taylor. He's clearly a Ravens fan. I point to this year, I wanted them to fire Zach Taylor. Obviously, the problem for Zach Taylor for me is I think he may be more of an X's and O's guy and less of a people person. And, X's and O's head coach only work out for so long before they alienate the entire locker room. And it seems like he did that in record speed here as he's a year and a half or a year and change into his tenure. And the locker room is already completely
it's
like Matt Patricia. You hire him because he's an X's and O guy, but hey, if you're not that good at X's and O's, you're going to be a terrible coach. This is what it is.
Right.
And there's I was going to say with the case of Zach Taylor, they're coaches, they're coordinators that can be good coordinators, but not good coaches because once you become a coach, it's the whole team. Think about who Zach Taylor pissed off the most. It was the defense of the Bengals. Not only the defense, it was the veterans of the Bengals. And obviously, for some reason, he liked to pick up a fight with AJ Green, the most beloved Bengal, right? So that's not good. I think he basically wanted to make sure this was his team, and he probably said, "Nah, the veterans are not going to be here for me, so let me just push them out." Look, I said last week, whoever loses this game should be fired, meaning the coach. Both should be fired, but I thought after the game, the coach that lost would have been fired. And when Zach Taylor lost, not only how they lost, how they lost, I thought like, okay, there's no chance he's going to make it. And here I am on Tuesday. He still has a job. So at this point, he's not going to get fired until at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And the question is he going to get fired? He should. What benefit does Zach Taylor?
That's when it's bad, when your division rivals are saying, why aren't they firing him?
Like right now, think about this. If the Bengals really want to go against for a guy like Bieniemy or one of the top guys, this is where you need to start putting that work into it. Like, okay, we got to take away the cancers in this organization. Let's clean house. Let's take everybody out. And whoever's going to be your coach, you're going to come here. This is going to be your rails, right? You're going to have a high draft pick. You have Burrow already, so you have a young quarterback to build upon. You need to build that O-line, and then you have a squad because you have weapons in the, receiver side. More than one. You have pretty good pieces on defense, so there's a place for the Bengals to turn this around. But you coaching, man, it's critical.
Yeah, and it's like if Mike Brown were serious about fixing this whole situation, like I would have fired Zach Taylor and spent the last 8 weeks building a practice facility to show teams I'm serious about trying to win. Like, make the job more attractive. It's hard to get Eric Bieniemy to sign for your team to be your head coach where you're like, all right, dog, let's take the bus to the University of Cincinnati to see where we practice when it rains. Like, that's just not how it works there. Come look at this 20-yard turf field we got in the weight room. Like, these are the things that they don't take seriously enough that hold you back in situations where you're going to be bringing in people to try to take hold of this ship. And for the Bengals, if they really want to be able to like plug this hole and not have to always hire a coach at a discount, then they have to get rid of the things that make people feel like it has to be a discount. It's not about the city. Like, Cleveland's not a great place to play, but we can get the coaches that we want to. Granted, we don't hire the right guy most of the time, but we don't have a problem getting who we want because we have the facilities and everything the coach needs to feel like he has everything to do his job. The Bengals don't want to do that, and then they get lucky because Marvin Lewis was able to handle that tremendously. And then now they're looking at every young guy that comes in. They're like, well, why can't you do what Marvin did? And it's like, if that's how you're going to hold them, why didn't you just keep Marvin at that point? But it's like the fan base forced them to fire Marvin, which is, I get why, because he had stagnated at a point, and now they're like being petty about it. Well, you wanted us to fire Marvin, now we hired Zach, now we keeping Zach, and it's like you're gonna waste away Joe Burrow's rookie deal being goofy. And you know what? As a Browns fan, whatever y'all want to waste away Joe Burrow like that. Be my guest. We got Lamar and Ben's in the division still. We got enough problems at quarterback to deal with. But if y'all want to reach your potential with that kid, like y'all gotta stop getting in your own way.
Facts.
Got another super chat here from John, $5. Appreciated, John. He says the Jets could probably beat the Bengals, to be honest. Well, it would be a competitive game.
I think so.
At least they fired Greg Williams. They still haven't fired Adam Gase. So like, no.
No, I mean, like, look, Greg Williams did the right thing. You know what I mean? For the franchise, like Greg Williams to cover zero in that moment. I think the owner was like, hey, here's a bonus on your way out the door. Appreciate that one, but you got to go.
I love when people are like, oh, Greg Williams did that so they could lose. And then everybody who's ever come into contact with Greg Williams is like, oh, no. Greg thought that was the answer. Like, that's just what Greg does. I've seen Greg do that. He did that against Aaron. He did that against Brett Hundley in overtime in the year that the Browns went 0-16. He just zero blitzed him and he got burnt for a touchdown. It's just what Greg does.
It's not. I will say this. Like, it reminded me, the Steelers played the Dolphins last year in a weird game where the Steelers were struggling for the first half.
Flores with that zero blitz and
he put zero blitz at the end of the first half. Yeah, Deontay was wide open for a touchdown. It reminded me of that. You know what I mean? And Brian Flores is not a bad coach. I mean, as we're finding out this year, I think he'll be in the running for Coach of the Year. So
definitely. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about my Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers lose to the Buffalo Bills on Sunday night. I honestly don't have much to add from what I said last week, right? I mean, I know it was very negative a week ago. I killed the Steelers, but I think rightfully so. And I think what happened in this football game kind of, it proves me right in a lot of ways, especially if you look at, the way that I previewed this game, and I said, I think the Steelers, I like the matchup because I think the Steelers can match up well with the offense. And they did for a half. I mean, the Steelers defense matched up well for a half, but Brian Daboll is a very good offensive coordinator, and give him credit for making the adjustment at halftime to free up Stephon Diggs in one-on-one and stop the Steelers from being able to roll coverage his way and get him free underneath. And Diggs ate him up in the second half, especially on those 2 drives. Look, I know Steeler fans still want to believe, right? Because, look, the Bills are a good team. They went on the road. Okay, they lost on Sunday night. But my problem with this team right now is nothing's changing. I mean, what is the discernible difference that from what we saw in Buffalo, from what we saw against Washington or against Baltimore or against Dallas, right? I mean, you go through these games, and it just feels like every game is the same at this point. The offense is going to struggle, and the defense is going to do as much as it can. But at some point, the defense was out there for 75 plays on Sunday. You just can't do that. You can't put a defense out there that much, especially a defense right now that in Pittsburgh is reeling from injuries a bit. I mean, the inside linebacker position, Ulysses Gilbert played his first time. Marcus Allen, a converted safety to inside linebacker, saw significant snaps in this game. So, look, I know we all want to believe it's going to get better, but the first play from scrimmage, drop pass from Deontay Johnson. Cool. I mean, you know what I mean? Like nothing, we're right where we are. That is who we are. And it's actually getting worse because, Ben Roethlisberger played his worst game of the season on Sunday. I mean, he was bad. That pick 6 changed the game. And, for Ben Roethlisberger to throw that is unacceptable because he should, first of all, shouldn't be throwing behind the guy, and he should see the defender right there. But it's emblematic of everything that's wrong with this team right now, which is that defenses are just going to they're going to sit on the short stuff.
Monetize.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to sit on the short stuff. And they're gonna try and jump all these routes, and finally it worked. I mean, this is weeks in the making that this came. So it's a problem for Ben, it's a problem for Randy Fichtner, it's a problem for the entire offensive scheme. And listening to Mike Tomlin at his press conference today, he said, look, the short stuff, it's good because we don't get sacked, no negative plays, right? And I think this is a team that came into this year wanting to get rid of negativity in the offense because they felt like they could win things defensively, and that was true earlier in the year. Rich writes in $5. Connor's dealing with a quad injury. Terrell Edmonds dealing with inflammation in his shoulder. Yeah, the injury situation in Pittsburgh is not great. And I want to talk about Connor for a second because as we've talked about before, the running game is terrible, and Connor will maybe make it better. Pouncey will make it a little better. But Connor came in immediately and got hurt. I mean, the guy was splitting snaps with Jalen Samuels, who, by the way, Jalen Samuels, a player who Steeler fans were wondering 3 weeks ago, how is this guy still even on the roster? He now is running back 1 in Pittsburgh with Connor down. They don't trust Benny Snell anymore. And so Jalen Samuels got the most reps. This team, again, I know Steeler fans, 11, they've won 11 games here. Hey, they can turn this around. They can turn this around. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. And this is a point I'm at the point where the Steelers have to prove it on the football field. If this team's going to turn around, I need to see it. And by the way, Steeler fans, when the Steelers go out on Monday night and they put up 30 against Cincinnati, which I'm not even sure if this offense is even capable of, but if they do, I don't want to hear about how, look, they fixed everything. Wrong. This team looked good against Jacksonville and good against Cincinnati. It didn't matter when they went up against good teams in Baltimore and Washington and Buffalo. So the next game that matters to me is the game coming up against Indianapolis. If they can't do it, then again, like I said, this is a one and done team in the playoffs, and we'll see what happens in the offseason because Ben's doing the whole pouting, I'm going to retire type thing again, which he did that 2 years ago or 3 years ago against Jacksonville when he threw the 5.
Just so he can make it dramatic when he comes up against Cincinnati and throws 4 touchdowns. This is what he does.
Yeah, it is what he does. And look, and I think there is a part of me that believes that him and the offensive coordinator, Randy Fichtner, who were supposed to be best buds, are not getting along right now. You'll remember 6 weeks ago against Baltimore, he made the comment that he was drawing it up in the dirt in the second half. That's how he said he was calling plays. I was drawing it up in the dirt, which every Steeler fan laughed at the time. And we said, ha, 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 Ben was drawing it in the dirt. They beat the Ravens anyway. But you look back at that moment now and you say, boy, that was a weird thing to say, right? Because what you're essentially saying is like, not only am I calling the plays, Randy Fichtner, I'm designing my own plays. I don't even want your playbook. Throw your playbook out. I'm doing it all myself. Yeah. And since that point, Ben has also called out Fichtner in the media by saying James Washington should play more. And Fichtner has called out Ben by saying Ben needs to practice more. It's a weird situation going on in Pittsburgh. We'll see how that plays out in the coming weeks.
Ben put on his good suit for like about 11 weeks. And now that track suit Ben about to come out.
Quincy, give me your thoughts on the game.
Yeah. As a game, like as a piece of entertainment, this was just a tough watch. It was for at least 3 quarters off. It was awful. What happened here was one of the things. And by the way, I knew how this game was going to go by the end of the first possession. because before kickoff, they have Lisa Salters on like the 50-yard line doing an interview. She's like, Mike Tomlin, after that loss, they really learned a lot, and they went into goal line drills all week in practice, and they worked on those hand-to-hand memorizations to make sure that they can get that run game going. Ball gets kicked off. They somehow end up with the ball at the 10-yard line. They do not run the ball once, and Deontay Johnson drops a wide open ball, and then you knew, these problems, they're not going away. No. They're here to stay. If you don't feel like you can run the ball one time backed up on your own 10, that tells me that those run drills did not go well in practice because you had zero confidence in them. And then Deontay Johnson drops a ball, all that stuff. That's just here to stay. I don't know where Deontay Johnson just got this random case of the dropsies at this level. It is insane at this point. I expect that to correct itself. I don't think it's going to continue on, maybe just for a year or so. But the problem with the Steelers offense is what I was worried about it being at the beginning. Now, obviously, win-loss record, I was completely off on the win-loss record. But one of the things I said why I felt like the Steelers defense, while very good, might have some issues is because you're going to be asking Ben to throw 50-plus times sometimes in this offense. It's going to be a lot on him. And if that happens, you're going to put the defense out there a lot more than you would if you could run the ball more consistently. And when you put that defense out there, we saw in the second half, I don't think Buffalo made a great adjustment. I just think Pittsburgh at that point started to get worn down a little by being trotted out there so much. Now, there are definitely some holes on that Steeler defense that Josh Allen was able to get at. Josh Allen played a decent game in the second half, awful in the first half. But it's also just kind of you're putting the defense out there so much. We saw this with the 8-8 year, where at the end of the season, where they were putting that defense out there way, way too much with Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges, and then you end up losing a game to the Jets, and then you end up also losing a game to the Baltimore Ravens B squad at the end of the season when you needed a playoff game. This is what happens when you put a defense on the field too much. Like there's really nothing the Steelers defense can do about that other than pray that a running game emerges because they're just being put out there too much, or pray that Ben gets more prolific. And by the way things are trending, it seems like we're going to start to get riskier with the ball, more turnover late in Big Ben, more than we're going to get the guy who was the quick release. This guy we've gotten for 11 weeks. It's been way different than any other Ben that we've gotten. So I don't think things are trending in the right direction for the Steelers. They're still a good team. They're probably going to beat Cincinnati on Monday Night Football, but who knows? That'd be a great way for the Cincinnati Bengals to ruin their draft position. By beating So it saves Zach Taylor's job. Also, that would ruin their franchise. That's 4D chess, by the way.
Listen, Steelers will take their wins wherever they can get them, and that's a win. That's a win. We'll take them all.
Hey, look, if you're the AFC North, that's 4D chess. If Zach Taylor wins that game, he might ruin the Bengals for the next 5 years. So I hate to see A suffer like that, but it might have to be rooting for Cincinnati on that game. But yeah, the problems with the Steelers are here to stay. And their defense is not going to bail them out of all of it. That is what's there. The offensive problems are here to stay. The defense, they've done everything they could. This 11-0 run, they've done everything they could to bail out the offense. Now it's time for the offense to either find some more dimensions or, get ready for some disappointments going forward in this season because it's just not trending well. It's just not trending well, and it's trending badly at the worst possible time. You just lost your home field advantage for the whole thing in your bye week. Who knows if you're going to get that one back? That's going to be a rough one.
Is that even if the Chiefs lose, they have 2 NFC opponents left, so they'd have to lose 2 games, or they'd have to lose to the Chargers in that final game in order for the Steelers to get it back.
Yeah, so they wrapped up the one season.
That's a done deal.
So the whole reason of going 11-0 is to wrap up that one, and now you don't have that. Luckily, the Ravens took care of business for Steeler fans, so they're not really that worried about the division anymore. But if they get a tough draw, like let's say Baltimore gets that 7th seed, or and you're drawing them as
we're not going to get the 2nd seed, so we don't have to worry about that either.
Yeah. I want to say, you can get some tough draws here if you're Pittsburgh that aren't going to be in your favor here. So be wary of that, Pittsburgh fans. But we'll see. Maybe they get a run offense to come out of nowhere, but I've never seen one just emerge in the last 4 weeks of the season.
Well, hold on. Okay, right now there are 5. I think there are 5 teams that could be wildcard teams right now: Browns, Titans, Colts, Dolphins, and Ravens. Right? Did I miss one?
No, I mean the Raiders are like outside looking in, but they're probably gonna lose again this week.
The Colts. Colts are tight.
Colts.
Colts Titans. Are there of any of those teams? Would you predict the Steelers beat any of those teams in the first round of the playoffs right now? Watching this football team,
I think you can beat the Dolphins. I'm not impressed with the Dolphins.
Oh yeah, the Dolphins. Yeah, the Dolphins.
Maybe the Dolphins.
But I think the Dolphins might be the one not making the playoffs. Right? Yeah,
they may drop out, and they're going to be the 7th seed. The Steelers are not getting the 2nd seed. They've now lost the tiebreaker to Buffalo, who has 3 losses. If the Steelers end up the same as Buffalo, I mean they lose one more game, then they will knock down to the 3 seed, and they will end up playing the 6 seed, not the 7. So
the Raiders are a weird one because they can play well against passing attack. It's like they are very like up and down, that Raiders team. So you never know what you're getting with them.
Yeah. We got a couple of super chats here. We had one, Ace, we'll do one from Josh. Yeah. We'll do this one quickly because we do want to get to Ace and Sonny's thoughts on the Steeler game. Josh says, if you were each to pick one person from your team to fight, which of the 4 fighters would win in a fatal 4-way? I will pick from the Steelers. I will pick Marquise Pouncey. We saw him in the Myles Garrett incident last year, and he's my choice, man. And also, by the way, he was then nominated for Walter Payton Man of the Year.
Marquise Pouncey.
Yeah,
that was not petty with Myles Garrett getting nominated as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna go with Mike Daniels. I think that he's a guy that has a little bit of nasty to him. I think that in a street fight, Mike Daniels could hold his own.
I guess. Look, I was gonna go with Marcus Peters, but you know what? I'm gonna, since you guys are going with big boys, I'm gonna go with Judon.
No. You know who you go with? The man who choked somebody out during a football game.
Oh,
that man
Humphrey.
don't play. Marlon Humphreys. Oh no. I don't care how big somebody is. If somebody is willing to choke you over a football game,
true. I forgot about that.
Let me tell you something. There are people out here who would. Marcus Peters talks a lot, but I don't think he's willing to choke you over a football game. Marlon Humphreys went from 0 to choke. That's one of the same reason why I not forgot about AJ Green. The one year he was just like standing there calm and then just went off on Jalen Ramsey's head. Like that's the dude. You don't want no problems with the dude.
That's true. I forgot about those two.
And chill, and then all of a sudden he's ready to go. For the Browns, I don't know. Because Miles used the helmet, so I don't know if Miles really fight like that. I would do it. Using my own theory, I don't think nobody wants to see if Nick Chubb got it in him to fight you. You know what I mean? Like I feel like nobody's gonna be testing that part of it. Like that's like with the big shows in the Fatal 4-Way, everybody else just like goes away from the big show, you know. Or so I think they'll just leave Nick Chubb alone. He'll get a one-on-one battle, and then, you know, we'll see what happens.
So we'll leave it up to Chad here to decide. So Chad, it's Marquise Pouncey from the Steelers. It's Nick Chubb from the Browns. It's Mike Daniels from the Bengals, and it's going to be Marlon Humphrey from the Baltimore Ravens. Let us know who you think would win in that fatal 4-way. And then we have one more here. Noah with $1.99. Appreciate it, Noah. Says, can the Ravens get the 5 seed somehow?
Yes. Unlikely. Yes, it's unlikely. You had the Browns have to lose another one. You had the Colts have to lose, and then Dolphins have to lose one or twice.
No, that's not happening.
Yeah,
it's tough.
I mean, it's not impossible. It's not impossible. For actually the one team that I actually less confidence that they will drop that game that the Ravens need to get to number 5 is the Browns.
Yeah. The Browns right now are red hot. Even with that loss. DJ Horning gave us $4.99. Appreciate it, DJ. Says, you guys are my favorite football podcast. Go Browns. Appreciate that, DJ. All right, let's continue here. Thoughts on Steelers and Bills. Ace, give me your thoughts.
2 things that I never thought that I would see in my life. Big Ben losing weight before in the offseason. Didn't think I would see that. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers not being good at running the ball. I don't know what is going on with the Steelers this year, but we've always known them as a team that plays very solid defense and always runs the ball. It's like that's like the definition of the Steelers is running the ball. Yeah. And they just haven't been doing that this year. And this was a game where I thought that the Bills would definitely give them a challenge, right? But I thought like, okay, big loss. The Steelers are going to come back the next week and they're going to come out swinging. So I gave them a chance, but obviously we saw what we've seen for the most part this whole season. Very inconsistent team in the Pittsburgh Steelers. doesn't give you much faith for them in the postseason. And it's kind of crazy because, they're having so many wins. They're stacking up this many wins this season. You would expect it to be followed with some kind of run in the playoffs, but you really don't. It depends on who they get. Anyone could essentially take this team out. I think it's definitely a scary thing for them heading into this playoff period. And the fact that you also have to run to kind of win in the playoffs and they're not able to do that kind of worries me about this team. I'm not sure where Pittsburgh is going. The other thing is this. Tony, I got to give you some flack for this. You kept putting on your chef hat. You put that chef hat and you said, let Ben cook. Yeah. Well, Ben has been cooking, but it's been turnovers. He's cooking up.
It's a little rotten. It's a little rotten.
In the last 4 games, he's at least thrown 1 interception. So that is vastly different from what we saw early on in this season. And this is not the right time for the Steelers to be trending down. So I think that I'm losing, any confidence that the Steelers could be a one and done. Like, I think that they are a one and done at this point, unless we see something in these last couple of weeks for them to turn it around. Because I think when we look at the Browns, we look at the Ravens right now, if they were matched up against any one of those teams in the first round, I think that they could lose. I think that they could easily lose that game. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, the playoffs haven't started. But at this point, I can't say that they aren't a one and done at this point.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're right. Sonny, your thoughts on Steelers Bills?
Look, there's the Steelers defense is good. Obviously they're dealing with some injuries. There's a way to help that defense is to getting some TOP, right? Time of possession. The problem is when you don't run the ball, that time of possession doesn't come out. And then you have the problem. Deontay looks like he has a confidence problem. Obviously, Ebron has been dropping. So you throw the ball a lot. What are teams going to do? Like, okay, well, throw it to those 2 guys especially. I mean, the other ones, Juju had drops, I know, and Claypool has had some drops in the past couple of games, but not like those 2. So if you are a defense, like, okay, let's watch these 2, let the other 2s, because as soon as Deontay drops that first ball in the game, what do you think happens? He's like, shit, not again, man, not again. So now he's on his head, right? And now also for Big Ben, he's like, bro, what else are we gonna do, right? Then you cope that with Big Ben throwing the picks, right? And again, the time of possession, in my opinion, is critical. Tony, how much you said that the defense of the Steelers were there on the field?
74, 75 plays, something like that.
That is a crazy number, right? And this is a team that, look, in the first half, Buffalo offense has been fairly good. The problem with Buffalo has been their defense, right? Yeah. So they were forcing Buffalo to punt the ball. I mean, the first half was a competition on punters. But eventually that defense gets tired, especially when you're not holding the ball long. And that's what happened, right? And then Josh Allen started playing a little bit better, and the rest is history. So the Steelers have to look. Next week, and I'm sorry, Ace, but the next week is a good week for the Steelers to try to force feed the run. Try to get back some sort of. I'm not saying they're going to be great, but they need to just be somewhat threatening as a running team, right? Because if they don't, it's gonna be it's probably one and done. Indy's going to be a good defense. The big thing with Indy is they're not consistent and they're coming on the road. So that's good for the Steelers. But, hey, how the Browns are playing? Oh, and the Browns, they remembered how they torched them last time. The Browns are, man, they're putting a big one on the Steelers. So the Steelers need to figure it out. I don't know if they can turn it around at this point. And like I keep saying, having Big Ben throwing that many balls is going to get to him at some point. It is going to get to him. So if I was a Steelers fan, I'll be frustrated. The record looks good. Yeah, the record looks good, but the substance behind it, you're like, ugh.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem, right? We can talk about 11 wins in Pittsburgh, and now, this team was 11-0. They haven't played good football in 6 weeks. I mean, it's 6 weeks since they played a quality opponent that they actually looked decent against, and that was Baltimore. And by the way, they were crap in the first half of that game. It was the second half of that game that they actually looked good. So they haven't played 60 minutes of football, maybe since Philadelphia. All right, let's get to the super chat here. Trib says, did Q call the Steelers 14-2 and a first-round loss. Quincy, I believe you did call that earlier in the year.
I mean, it ain't happened yet, but I did say I think they'll go about 14-3 as a joke.
Yeah, I think the only thing you were wrong there about was 14-2. I don't know if this team. I honestly, I don't think this team can win
12-4
more than 2 more games. I think if this team won 3 games from this point forward, I would be surprised.
By the way, I got a quick question.
Win 1 game, but before you go, Quincy, is this going to be? I think I'm starting to believe the most overrated 14-2 team of all time. If it happens, I think I'm starting to buy some stock into that.
Well, remember, if they go 14-2, they will have won their next 3 games, right? So they will have to be
impressive,
right, and then they'll have turned it around. So the idea here would be like, there could be an overrated 12-14, correct? Because if they win, if all they do is beat Cincinnati and then lose their next 2 the same way they lost to Washington, the same way they lost to Buffalo. I mean, 12-4 is not that great.
Why isn't Juju seeing more targets with all these wide receivers dropping them? Like,
because he's not a number 1.
No, the problem. Here's the problem with this. I mean, people are asking this in chat, right? They're saying, "Oh, why can't the running game get going? What is it? It's everything, right? The offensive line is not a good run blocking offensive line. The holes are not there, right? Connor is a decent runner as far as yards over expectation. But he's the only one on the team that can really ad lib on a running play. If there's no hole for Samuels or Snell, they're not going anywhere. You add that to the picture, and then you add to the idea that this team runs out of the same formation. So tendency wise, it's easy for defenses to understand when it's going to be run versus pass. And you add on to that the idea that this team only wants to throw short, and they're not challenging anyone, not just deep, but not even on intermediate routes. So everyone sits into the box because you can, because that's where the ball is coming, whether it's a run or a pass. That's where the ball is going to be. That's why you can't run. And the idea of Juju, I agree with you. Juju is miscast in this offense. He has I said this last week. He is the second lowest yards per catch in the National Football League. It's ridiculous. Juju, we've seen in the past, be a deep threat, be intermediate, but all this offense calls for him to do is run the quick stuff. You look at his route charts on Next Gen Stats, and it's a joke. This guy's like a glorified running back in this offense.
It's ridiculous. I mean, like, he's proven he can be split out and be your second, be your Y or X or whatever you need him to be with Claypool on the other side. It seems like a really easy fix for some of these drop issues that you're having with Deontay Johnson. One, just get him out the game, put James Washington in, because you're going to deal with drops. I mean, like, you might as well deal with James Washington at that point. And I don't know if they got a better solution there than – well, Ebron could be helpful. It's just you got to pick and choose your spots with them. So, like, I think some of the issues on offense, like, you can get away around them, but it's like, it's more structural than it is personnel based than anything when I see the Steelers problems.
The personnel thing I think is a problem though, because the Steelers did put a lot of this offense around the catch and run stuff, and Deontay is such a big part of that. And when you take your best catch and run guy out of the offense, and they literally did for the first half because he dropped 2 of his first 3 balls, I think that hurts as well. The other thing to talk about here is Chase Claypool, who has seen a drastically significant amount of targets in the last couple weeks. Mike Tomlin was asked about that, where are his snaps going? And Tomlin said, he was asked also about the rookie wall. And he said, look, the Steelers are trying to avoid Claypool hitting the rookie wall, but by taking away his snaps to avoid him hitting the rookie wall.
You're hitting the rookie wall.
He's exactly. He's hitting the rookie wall by not hitting the rookie wall. So great job there. I mean, you played yourself.
The good thing for Juju is, at least if he doesn't work on football, he always has his career on TikTok, right?
By the way, it's so overplayed, the TikTok dance. Like the idea that the Steelers lost this game because Juju was dancing on midfield. Like, every problem the Steelers had, they had against Washington.
Oh, welcome to Odell world, baby. It's about time that caught up with Juju. I've been seeing this man do all kind of goofy stuff during the game, and it's fine. But everybody, if Odell sneezes on the sideline, if Odell does a first down dance, they are all over Odell for the next week about if he bringing the right mentality to the locker room. I don't necessarily buy into that stuff, but I want to see people evenly apply that to Juju Smith-Schuster as much as they apply it to Odell. Because if Odell had the nerve to dance on the midfield line and do some TikTok dances, oh my goodness, the media would be full
There you go.
of all kinds of Odell slander, and then lost the game and had like 40 yards losing it. Like, nah, dog. Like, it's about time. It's about time some of this stuff. Like, Baker Mayfield got all that slack for being on Instagram, replying to messages. Like, if we gonna act like this about player social, which I don't think we should, let's at least be fair about it. So either we ain't gonna do it at all, or we gonna just do it to everybody. But I'm tired of this. Like, oh, we gonna pick and choose when we gonna be mad about Lamar about doing this, and then we gonna always be mad at, like, whoever it is. It's not just Odell. It's a bunch of other players.
Steelers have a social media problem. Wasn't AB going live on like
Facebook?
Facebook?
Went live in the locker room.
Live in the locker room. Now TikTok.
Eric Ebron tweet with no hands and stuff. I don't know how they do it.
Ebron also like interrupted Josh Allen during an interview after the game. It was a very bad look for Ebron. Yeah, it was a strange one. All right. Anyway, enough of the Steelers. We can go on. I can go on forever about this crap team, but until they win a football game, I'm done talking about them. Let's get to the marquee matchup. Not just the marquee matchup of the week in the AFC North. Because this was the marquee matchup, maybe of the year in the AFC North, but it was also the marquee matchup of the NFL this year. This is the game of the year, a terrific game in Cleveland. Browns, they lost to the Baltimore Ravens 47-42. Let's start, Sonny, with you, and we have to start with a certain player, Lamar Jackson, because for a while, a long time, people have said that Lamar Jackson needs a number one wide receiver, right? That's what's going to fix him. But what he actually needed was a number two, didn't he?
A number two. Let me start with this. All I heard in this channel and on the comment section, right? The slander on Lamar look, this is how I literally hear this from you guys. Look, I'm gonna put this. Lamar can't win with the big game. He cannot win the big game. Oh my God! Ravens losing in prime time.
1 out of 6.
That's all. That's all I hear. No. We beat the Cowboys too.
Oh, no, we're not counting Cowboys.
Let him have it. Let him have the Cowboys.
Okay. He lost to the Cowboys, so he's got to.
Wait. No. We were better last year. I give you that. The Ravens were not good this year in primetime. Last year we had the Rams in primetime. We had the New England in primetime, and there's the other team. Anyway, Ravens last year were better, but this year obviously he hasn't been great. But look, Lamar Jackson, look, this is heroic. He went, and in the fourth quarter, we were up by 2 touchdowns, right? We were up by 2 touchdowns. And dude, his tummy is not feeling well. The tummy is cramping. It's cramping. That's what he said. It's cramping. Mm-hmm. The tummy is cramping. And he's like, yo, we got this. Let me go. Look, that dump was big. He stayed there for a while. It wasn't a minute. You saw that video.
He ain't have his phone or nothing.
He was running, and the dude was coming out of the locker, and he's like, "Yo, move out of my way! I need to go." Right? And then obviously Trey McSorley went down, and I'm assuming he's like, "Oh my God, I need to finish. I need to get there." And in all seriousness, it was impressive. Let me start with this. I'm going to give props to the Cleveland Browns. A spectacular game, especially on Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield played a really good game. And one thing that I knew about Baker, but I learned it even more, is Baker, if when he gets protected, dude is pretty lethal. And this is why the Browns made the investment in that O-line, right? That investment in the O-line was amazing. And the O-line played really good. Now, the Baltimore Ravens blitz, and when the pocket got dirty, I'm not saying that he wasn't great, but like any quarterback with pressure, he had his problem. He had his miscue, but look, he moved outside. He accounted for the Ravens to not get at least 3 sacks. And you don't think that about Baker that much? He moved around the pocket. He was slippery and all that, and he accounted for that. But the Browns' problem is defense, right? If Lamar Jackson didn't have Dumpgate. Let me call it a Dumpgate.
Dumpgate. I like that. I call it Poopgate, but Dumpgate's good too.
Poopgate, whatever you want to call it. This game would have gone to the wire because they didn't have a nothing to stop this running attack. The Ravens were just gashing them, right? As soon as Lamar went out, and so this is not the offense for the Browns were playing really good. It's more on the defensive side. As soon as Lamar went down, the offense moved the ball again. The offense was moving the ball. They were playing good. And then McSorley came and he didn't do anything, right? There was a 3-and-out really quickly. And the offense for the Cleveland Browns got the ball again and they marched down and make another touchdown. They went up. And then I see Trex McSorley again. I was like, man, we're done. And then as Quincy called him Soulja Brown, dropping balls left and right, Lamar coming down, 4th and 4, I think, or 4th and 5. Lamar runs the ball, and I'm like, okay, he's going to get the first down. I'm rushing, right? I mean, it looked like he was going to get it. And I'm like, and after that, all I need them is to slow down, burn the clock, and bring Jay Tuck. He throws the ball, and I see it in the direction of Brown, and I'm just watching this in slow-mo at this point. I'm like, dude is going to drop it.
Did you also have breathing problems at this point?
Oh, no. Marquise Hollywood Soldier Boy Brown, he tries to do his best imitation of Deontay Johnson. He loves Deontay. They're similar stature, you know. Anyway, he caught it. God, he got it. And I was like, oh, my God. But as soon as I saw the clock, I'm like, they're marching back because the Browns, and credit to Stefanski. Stefanski, we were controlling the line of scrimmage fairly good. I mean, there were some good runs from Chubb and from Hunt. But for the most part, that D-line control the running attack. But Stefanski said, where's Harris? Oh, Harris there. Let's throw it their way. Right. And then Harris went down and we brought a backup safety on Levine. And like, let's go there. Right. And then what the Ravens inevitably had to do was, okay, so they're picking these guys apart. Let's go zone. Oh, man, you can't play zone against Baker. Baker is going to bake, like Quincy said, and he was picking the zone apart. So obviously when the Ravens were a man, the Ravens had way more success. When they were in zone, it wasn't as good. And look, again, Lamar coming cold from a quarter, that pass was good, but I had to give, again, credit to Baker. They marched to right down and scored. But then here's the kicker. They did it too quick. A minute 4, and you can go find my tweet, said a minute 4, I believe. And it happened, right? All they had to do was get near enough for Jay Tuck. And for a guy like Mark Andrews, and Quincy said that Mark Andrews might not have a big game, and he was right, but he had the critical plays, right? In the second quarter and in the fourth quarter, back-to-back passes, they were critical. He made the catches. We put him in field goal range, and we got the W. This was a great game. Like, if you're not a Cleveland and the Ravens fan base, you're watching this game and you're like, holy crap, this is an amazing game. For the people of Cleveland and Baltimore, this is a game where you lose years out of your life because it's a roller coaster emotion. You're winning, you're losing. It's all over the place. And obviously the team that took the L, you just feel defeated. But I would say the Browns, for me, man, they look really good. This is a team you don't want to mess with. Baker, in my opinion, had the one bad pass, which was picked. But other than that, Baker, he was dealing. So, but I will give my guy props because with a bad O-line all year, I thought Myles Garrett was going to be killing them, and Lamar took it upon himself. Every time Cleveland Brown rushed wide, right? Oh, he saw that lane, and he was taking that lane. So Lamar was the difference maker for the Ravens, right? Lamar was the difference maker. He ran the ball exceptional. He threw fairly well. He didn't have to throw much, but he threw fairly well when he had to. He missed a couple of throws on the possession before he went on the poop gate, as Tony called it. Wide open Mark Andrews. I forgot there was another guy wide open deep. So, but overall, Lamar played really good. This was a game that you enjoy. And I don't know, man. Lamar looked like the best quarterback in the AFC North right now. I had
Let's
to throw
not,
that
let's
in.
not, let's not, let's not get crazy. Let's not get crazy. Rich gave us $10. Appreciate that, Rich super chat here. Injury update: Trace McSorley to IR. Oh, just an MCL sprain. I was surprised by that. I thought it might have been more devastating than that.
Me too.
So glad to hear that McSorley just an MCL strain. Des Bryant activated from reserve from the reserve C list, which is interesting to me because did they also have to activate him from the retirement list? I thought didn't he say he was going to retire 2 weeks ago? Sendejo's in the concussion protocol. Myles Garrett has an elbow injury, and Jedrick Wills with an ankle sprain. Although it seems like Wells is not as bad as it was originally thought, so he
came back and played. So
he came back.
Yeah. So they'll be good to go. Another super chat here from the Trib, $5. Appreciated, Trib. It says both teams played well. Baker's back. Rookie Baker gets forgotten. Glad for him. Lamar can't wait till he gets top 5 offensive talent. One winner though, and that winner was the Baltimore Ravens. So Quincy, let's get your thoughts on this game. As Sonny said, Baker played well. Is there? I know moral victories are silly, but how do you feel coming out of this game for the Browns?
I normally am a believer moral victories are pretty goofy here, but I just don't feel like I know the Browns lost, but it doesn't feel like a true full-on loss. And I've been trying to figure out why it is that I feel that way. And I think it was coming into this game, Baltimore needed a win. That's all they needed to win. They didn't prove anything. More than anything, they needed just to win. The Browns came into this game needing to prove something, needing to show that their young team, one of the youngest teams in NFL and youngest coaching staffs in NFL, could withstand that kind of environment. Monday Night Football, you're the hottest game on TV. Your fans are going crazy. This game absolutely means the world to the team across the field from you. It's a playoff game. This is playoff intensity. It's close to playoffs we're going to see because some of these playoff games aren't going to have fans in the stands. So this is as close as the playoffs are going to feel in 2020 can feel. And look, the Browns made some mistakes. They came out antsy. You talk about Rashard Higgins, 2 fumbles early on, luckily weren't recovered. Jarvis had another fumble. I felt like Kevin Stefanski didn't find his rhythm until the midway through the third quarter after Baker threw that interception. Baker threw probably the worst interception he threw all year on that play to Bowser, that was Tyus Bowser, right?
Yeah, it was Bowser. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, you're not seeing the team respond to the moment. They're hanging in there, but they're not embracing the moment. They're not responding to the moment. And maybe Baker Mayfield's Ben Roethlisberger version of getting injured is throwing a terrible pick because against Cincinnati, he threw a terrible interception. They got Odell's ACL tore. It was that bad. And then he went 22 of 22, 5 touchdowns, and won the game with 1 minute left and no timeouts. Then Baker Mayfield throws that terrible interception and then just catches fire. Absolutely catches fire. And the biggest thing I learned, and there are a lot of things that I learned, the Browns are still in this weird place where they're competing, but they're still learning things about their team, is that I'm not entertaining Baker Mayfield 5th-year option conversations anymore. Obviously, he's getting his 5th-year option. Obviously, he's going to get extended. This is the guy. This is a franchise quarterback. This is what he does. You needed him to respond and come back in the absolute biggest moment of this franchise's history since they come back in 99. And he did. He has come back. He did make those plays. I mean, that drive, there was the one play he made on 4th and 6 to Rashard Higgins that he scored on was absolutely huge. It was another 4th down to Jarvis Landry in that series of drives that he made was huge. And I told you guys, Baker has been making these 3rd and longs and these 4th down plays since the bye week pretty consistently. And he still continues to do that. And then, the one play, it looked like the Ravens really were going to shut them down at that goal line stand. He cuts out, makes a play, and then scores a touchdown running. Huge play, massive play. That drive down there, the fact that I know they scored too fast, but that is a different problem than what the Cleveland Browns have dealt with at the quarterback for 20 years, where it's ooh, can they even get the ball to the 40? And not only did they score too fast, they scored within 3 minutes in an offense that people don't think can score fast, in ways that people wouldn't think can score fast because you're just throwing screens, dump offs, and everything else in between. One great throw to Donovan Peoples-Jones. The biggest problem for the Browns outside of the defense, we know the defense was a problem. They weren't healthy. They had their entire starting secondary out. I mean, even Andrew Sendejo missed some time in that game. It was just it's a bad situation back there. Tennessee picked it apart. We knew Baltimore was going to do something with it. And it looked like their solution for Lamar Jackson was just a gamble on the defensive side of the ball. That's why you saw some drives where they would get a 3-and-out of nowhere, just randomly. And then other drives where Lamar would ease down the field. That one drive after halftime was one of the easiest touchdown drives I've seen all year, where they just, without any resistance, they scored. Baltimore did. But the biggest problem for the Browns offense, especially in the first half, was that their wide receivers couldn't get separation. And this is where you do miss Odell, because at least Odell eats up Marlon Humphrey's attention, whether he has a good game or not. So then you're left with a better assortment of cornerbacks on your lesser wide receivers. You get a better matchup for Jarvis Landry. Unfortunately for the Ravens, they just got some injuries in the secondary, which kind of softened up the secondary a little bit to get some more separation. And once they got separation, Baker was able to make some plays, but they were getting no separation. The Ravens' plan obviously was, we're going to stack the box and we're going to think our corners can stop every single one of your wide receivers one-on-one, especially when Austin Hooper's not out there. And it did work for the first half. So that was a big deal for the offense. And then let's talk about that fourth quarter, because I know I've seen it in chat. Y'all want me to talk about it, right? Baker Mayfield makes an incredible drive, gets up by 1 point. I thought the game was over at that pick six. You know what I mean? It wasn't pick six, but it essentially was a pick six. I thought the game was over. It looked like Baltimore had all the momentum. And boy, did Baker come through big in that moment, that drive. He came big in that one drive on 4th and 6, and he came back big when he tied the game. I know Trace got a 3-and-out, and maybe if Lamar's there, that's not a 3-and-out, but we don't know. The defense was weird like that all game, where they could force a 3-and-out, but they also could give up a 70-yard run to Lamar. Like, it was either or. It was either touchdown or nothing for that defense all game. So you get the game to a 1-point lead. You're feeling pretty good about it, and this is what I'm talking about. The small things matter in these kind of games. They have an opportunity on a 3rd and 10 to get that team off the field before Lamar's done taking his dump, before he can get back on the field, before it's go for it territory. You have an opportunity to get them off the field with enough time to where they would feel comfortable punting the ball, and if they would have done that, game would have been over. The Browns, they can do one thing. The one thing they do at the absolute highest level is if they get that ball at the end with the lead, they can close that out. They can run the ball. That's what they do. But they did not get that stop. They let Willie Snead sneak open just a little bit. Trace McSorley makes a great throw. Better catch by Willie Snead there. And that forces the drive into plus territory. Now you're down to 2 minutes. Now you're in go for it territory. You hurt Trace McSorley, which gives Lamar just a little bit of time. Just a little bit of time to wipe off, wash his hands so he doesn't give COVID to everybody after what he did in that bathroom. And then he walks out there and on 4th and 6, and people can say all they want about, Lamar didn't have a lot of attempts or whatever. He's not good. I've heard a lot of that junk. He's really good. Here's the reason why he's really good. Look at that play. If you look at the all 22 of it, the gravity that he has the second he breaks that pocket, the amount of panic that went through defensive backs' heads when he made both of the defensive backs on both sides of the field run into each other. Like, everybody was open because that's the gravity that Lamar gets you. People were panicking when they saw him out on the field. And then he forces that to be open, makes a great throw to Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown catches it, and that's what I'm going to call the double dookie. They got it. They got the dookie man to throw to the dookie receiver, and then they scored off of that, went with the double dookie, and went down. Shout out to Pookie Brown for being there again. Look, Pookie Brown loves just being there when everything breaks down and catching the ball, and he had another one of those again, much to the chagrin of me. But Baker again comes back down, battles back, because that's a game ender most of the time. Like, there's no way you coming back from that kind of a momentum shift. Lamar comes off the toilet, 4th and 6, throws a touchdown. Most of the time that's game. You don't have the momentum to come back. Baker still punched back his way in there. But, we kind of knew what the deal was when they scored with 1 minute. If they get that ball to the 40, we know what time it is. We know what time it is with Justin Tucker. I don't care what end of that red zone he's kicking out. I don't care how bad the field's been, Another time where you're in a game-winning situation with a field goal and the Ravens beat you, it's upsetting, but I'm not discouraged by what I saw. I think this team got some valuable experience in a playoff-type setting. I think they have learned a lot about themselves, a lot about what they can do, and a lot about what they need to improve to get to the place where they want to be. And I think that's going to be valuable when you talk about the Browns potentially making a playoff run. This is valuable experience. But, lot to learn. Wish you could have got him. But this is what I'm thinking. I want to see the Baltimore Ravens again in Cleveland for the AFC Championship because I think the route's there if both teams can make the playoffs.
Ooh, that would be surprising, especially given Kansas City and how they're playing right now. Got some super chats to get to. The Trib, $2 here, says, "What's up with Don and the defense? It's sus." Sonny, are you worried at all about how the defense played?
Look, I think this defense, and Quincy can attest to this, first half played really good against a Cleveland Brown team that we had talked about how hot they've been on offense. They were controlling really good. I know they gave up 2 rushing touchdowns, but for the most part, it wasn't like they were just torching the run. And when the corners were fairly healthy, we only have 4 corners. When they were fairly healthy, they were being able to man up. And then, like I said, when Jimmy Smith went out of the game, that started opening it. And then Peters went out of the game for a little bit, and that was even worse. And then Harris went out of the game. So as soon as the Ravens went from what they do best, which is manning up, right, and that allows them to blitz and do all these other stuff, to zone coverage, Baker did his thing. Baker just said, like, okay, there's the soft spot. Boom, there's the soft spot. And he looked at the field, and it looked like it was slow for him. Like, it was way too easy. So am I discouraged? I mean, we need to figure out a better plan with all these injuries. We have to.
Misfit Culture TV gives us a $5 super chat. Appreciate that. Says, hot take time. Baker was the better quarterbacks out of the 2 this game. Semi-hot take. I mean, both quarterbacks I think played well.
You can make the argument for either or. Passing wise, yes. Lamar was clutch, and so was Baker. I think. See, if I say Lamar, the big thing for me was if you don't have Lamar was basically. The running attack was so good because Lamar was dynamic yesterday, right? Yeah. Lamar was super dynamic on the run side, and which allowed him to have easy completions on the passing side. But Baker was amazing too, right? You can flip a coin. Obviously, I'm gonna pick my guy, and I'm sure Quincy will pick his guy. But both guys play really good.
I mean, I'm more inclined to say it was Lamar just because Lamar didn't turn the ball over. That's the one big difference. I felt like I said this during my stream. The Browns needed to get a turnover to win that game in the second half. Once the Baltimore Ravens scored on that first possession, I was like, the Browns need a turnover. They never got that turnover. That ended up being the difference in the game. Baker throws that pick 6. Look, it was a bad pick 6. It was also one of those like, hey, you got to guess where the linebacker is going to go, if he's going to drop or if he's going to come. Wink got him on that one. That's a good one by Wink. Bakes only had 8 interceptions all year. I'm not going to be blaming the whole game on one bad play Baker Mayfield made when he made like 40 of them to get you back in the game, and the defense couldn't make the one on 4th and 6. That's the one that you need to get, or the one on 3rd and 10 here. But yeah, Baker played phenomenally. We didn't need to learn about Lamar Jackson. I know a lot of people say you have to. You didn't need to learn about the dude. He won the MVP last year. So Baker, we needed to learn. Is he a franchise quarterback? Is he the kind of guy that if you have 2 minutes left, are you worried about that's the big difference between a guy who's a franchise quarterback and a guy who's Andy Dalton, right? I'm pretty sure Ace Boogie never in his life was like, oh, we got 2 minutes. I hope we don't score too fast with Andy Dalton back there. It's a little bit different of a game. So Baker proved where he is. And you know what? I'm not going to do this whole game of who's better and who's comparing, who made the right draft choice. Three teams got franchise quarterbacks in 2018. It really doesn't matter where you select.
Listen, the jury is still out on Mason Rudolph. We'll see. All right, we got a super chat here from Larry Davis. Gave us $10. Appreciate that, Larry. It says, Quincy, 2 gifts for you, Quincy. First, a broom, and then second, a bottle of Texas Pete hot sauce to make that foot taste spicy. Soldier Boy sends 7 of his best wishes just for you. LOL.
We're not about to say that touchdown with Soldier Boy Brown now. We gonna take the credit away from Lamar Jackson, everything he did to make that play possible for a scrub like Marquise Brown to be in that position. Y'all gonna give Marquise Brown the credit because I talk bad about him? Nah, come on now. Come on. That could have been Boykin, Duvernay, Ace Boogie, Tony. Like that could have been anybody out there. It just happened to be Boo Boo Brown. So you know what? I'm happy he caught it. But the fact of the matter that Sonny was scared that boy wasn't going to catch that ball, that tells you everything you need to know about him. You need to upgrade that position. You need somebody who can make some contested catches. You need somebody like an AJ Green. Now, Lamar can get you a lot of places. And again, I've said this all year. The Ravens have problems, but they have problems not a lot of teams can take advantage of. Browns weren't one of those teams that could take complete advantage of those problems, like the wide receiving core, because Lamar just got so much gravity on that defense. It was ridiculous. And when that happens, things like that happen. So shout out to Lamar. Give Lamar. I know you guys always get mad when people don't give Lamar his credit, but Raven fans, give Lamar his credit. What are you talking? That is a Lamar play.
We got another super chat here from Brandon Kraft. Give us $5. Appreciate that, Brandon. I'd like to hear from Tony and SDG if possible. Is it time to give Baker respect as a legitimate franchise quarterback? Sonny, I'll let you go first.
I mean, I talk about this like 4 weeks ago. I started saying that Baker has been looking way better. And look, I attribute the comings of Baker is Stefanski's a big part of it. Yeah. Stefanski, everything around Baker is being built for Baker. The great O-line, the good running attack makes him with the play action, right? He's a deadly quarterback with play action. The scheme has been perfect, and Baker has been taking advantage of that scheme. So yes, right now the Browns built a great team for Baker, and Baker has elevated that team, right? You can build sometimes a team for a particular player, and that player crapped the bed. But that hasn't been Baker. Baker has taken advantage, and he has been playing great. So, yeah, man, like Quincy said, the fifth-year option is a no-doubter at this point. You pick that puppy up the first day that you are available to pick it up.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. Look, we've seen bad Baker this year, but the difference between years past and this year is that we've seen bad Baker far less than we've seen good and or great Baker. So at this point, it's trending, as Mike Tomlin would say, arrow pointing way up with Baker Mayfield right now. So is he a legitimate franchise quarterback? Look, there's no way the Browns are going to get rid of him. So yes, he is a franchise. He will be their franchise quarterback for the foreseeable future. And like Sonny said, a big part of this is Stefanski, but you don't want to take away from what Baker is doing out there. It's not all Stefanski. He's making big time throws in big moments. There were so many times in this game where he could have folded and he could have done the typical Baker thing. He did not, right? He kept making big throws. And that's not just been a Baker thing. It's been the entire Browns this year. But of course, you have to give credit to Baker for how well he's played, not just in this game, but really over the last 6 weeks. All right, let's get Ace's thoughts on this game. Ace, your thoughts on Cleveland and Baltimore?
I think Lamar Jackson took the phrase "if it's brown, flush it down" literally. It was just insane. But all jokes aside, I think that this was a great game. I think it was the game of the year. Coming into this game, I sided with the Browns. I thought that the Browns were going to win this game because of the trenches. And that's what was strange about this game is because, yes, Myles Garrett didn't go off, but they gave up like 4 sacks or something like that. It was like 4 or 5 sacks. And so I saw the Browns getting after it early. But the issue, I think, in this game was the Browns, they just couldn't stop that Ravens offense. They couldn't tackle. They couldn't make the stops that they needed to in this game, and I think that was the X factor. I've talked about the Ravens getting away from that passing team that they tried to be and just be the Ravens. That means running the ball. That means Lamar Jackson is going to run the ball. That is when they are the most dangerous, and they have completely cut it on here to make this drive to try to make the playoffs at the end of the season. And I think that was shown. I think the Browns did still give a great fight against them. And I think for the Browns, it was something where they had to look in the mirror themselves and say, hey, if we can get this win against the Ravens and really deal them this blow, this will be something that's good for us. It's not exactly necessary to validate the Browns, but I think, like Quincy said, it was kind of their Super Bowl. Like when the Bengals did what they did in 2015 and stuff like that, we wanted to stick it to the Steelers. We wanted to put them down, even though necessarily it wasn't what we needed to go into the playoffs with. And I think that even though, like Quincy said, they didn't get the win, it still was a great contest. And I just knew when I saw the Ravens in prime position with Justin Tucker, you just knew all you needed to do was complete a couple passes, and you just knew that Tucker was gonna take it in. And I mean, this is probably gonna be the first kicker that gets into the Hall of Fame here with Justin Tucker. And I just wanted more. Like we need to see another matchup. We need to see this matchup again. And I think that it was kind of, to me, the two teams right now that are the hottest in the AFC North colliding with each other, and there had to be a winner. There had to be a winner, and it was the Ravens. So the Ravens are back in this thing. The only bad thing about that, though, is that now it has almost essentially given the Steelers the division. That's the only thing that I didn't like about the game. It came to like, for me realizing that, I'm like, all right, now that the smoke is cleared, the Steelers are playing up. Oh man, the Steelers.
The Bengals can prevent this, right? The Bengals can be that team that prevents the Steelers from.
That's just like when Justin Tucker runs out there at the 35-yard line. We know what time this is.
No, that's like if Austin Seibert ran out there for that field goal at the end of the game. That's as better. He's got a better chance of making that field goal than the Bengals do of winning that game.
It's like being down 6 and Andy Dalton's like, okay, he's got 1 minute left. No timeouts. We know what time it is. Pick 6 right here
on a Thursday. On a Thursday night in Cleveland. That's like Andy Dalton throwing a pass that actually hits the receiver in the hands. If you guys know what I'm talking about. But this was a good game for the division. It's interesting. It's going to make things interesting, which I think is the best for the NFL, best for this division. So the Ravens, I have to give you guys your credit. You guys came out and did what it takes to win. But the Browns, they shouldn't be too defeated after this loss because they were right there. And I think it was a really good game, even though the Browns did get swept this year by the Ravens. It wasn't something like a complete domination of what we saw in week 1. And I think that it also showed, like Quincy said, you guys know that I haven't given Baker the biggest praise outside of, I think, last week and obviously against the Bengals. But he kind of showed in that game again that when you guys fall behind multiple scores, that you can depend on him to throw the ball and make plays. So I think that was a big leap for Baker Mayfield. Stefanski, I've been hearing a lot of people give Stefanski praise. I was wrong about this guy. I think when we first talked about everything in the season, I kind of was like, the Browns are doing the same thing again, signing another coach like Freddie Kitchens. He's clearly not that guy. And I think we saw it after the end of the game. I think Quincy tweeted this, where it was, Harbaugh embracing Stefanski. That would never happen with Zach Taylor. I'm just going to say that right now. But he like embraced him, and, the Browns got that respect. And I think as Bengal fans, low key, we kind of do want rivals in our division to respect this. It might not matter if it's the Steelers, and I think that's why we hate them so much. But when we were good, when the Ravens and people like that and Harbaugh would say nice things about us, it didn't make the tension. It kind of gave us that respect, right? And I think that the Browns, that kind of was something that we haven't seen so far from the Browns, is them kind of get that respect on that stage. So I think for both teams, it was a win-win. But obviously, this makes the playoffs more interesting.
It makes AFC North talk more interesting.
Exactly.
We're going to get a 1-week extension at the very least, because it don't look like the Steelers are going to have that bye. So,
Right. Yeah. It's exactly. It makes the AFC North a ton more interesting here down the stretch. You got another super chat here to get to. Jake wrote in, one game at a time. I will listen to all this chatter after week 17. Then we can talk. And I think based on his icon there, he is a Browns fan. Yeah.
It's Kevin Stefanski's motto. It's one game at a time.
One game. Okay. And then Codex wrote in $2. Appreciate that. Is Tucker the greatest kicker of all time? The answer to that question is yes.
Yeah.
Well, wait, better than Vinatieri?
Yes.
Currently, he is more accurately.
Listen,
Vinatieri made 2 Super Bowl game winners?
Yeah, but here's the problem with Vinatieri. He plays by the Batman thing. You either die the hero or you live long enough to become the villain. And
I'm talking about the whole nothing that he did with his
played too long.
That could happen to Tucker, right? So right now it looks like it, but to be determined, right?
I'm gonna be annoying here. I'm gonna give a first take. He needs some signature kicks. What kicks do you remember?
Lamar thing. He hasn't done it in a big game.
He hasn't. I get he's done it in the AFC Championship game against the Patriots before, but he hasn't done it in the Super Bowl. The one time they won the Super Bowl, he was on the roster. They didn't need him. So, is he elite? I need to see some signature kicks before I can call him.
Kicker wins.
How many rings does Adam Vinatieri has? He needs to at least get there. Oh, this is the LeBron MJ conversation all over again. Hey.
I love it. All right, Matty Bond, $5. Appreciate that. Knowing how much the Ravens and Browns hate each other, Lamar missed a big opportunity to say he wasn't cramping, just dropping the Browns at the Super Bowl. I agree. I don't know why he's trying to play this down. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but they actually did put the bandage on his arm too, where he was getting the IV. in the
He
locker room.
might have.
No.
Look. The
No,
idea,
Imagine Dookie is so bad, you got to get an IV injected.
And they do stay hydrated. Stay hydrated, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's checking your levels.
Yeah.
This is got to be awkward, dog. Like, give me my phone or something. I can't just be
Love it.
paying attention to this.
All right, Misfit Culture TV gives us another $5. Appreciate that. To SDG, Tony, and Ace, can you guys say that the Browns are Boogie Oogie? Yeah, the Browns are finally earning their respect in the National Football League, or is it too early? Hashtag dog check. I will say, I mean, respect earned. I said this after last week. The Browns, that was a huge signature win for them against Tennessee. This, I think, and we'll get to my thoughts in a second, but I don't think this was a bad loss for them by any stretch. I think the Browns absolutely have earned their respect in the National Football League.
Yeah, I would say the same. Like I was saying, somebody asked earlier, like, can the Ravens get the fifth seed? And for me, I think the scenario of the Colts losing a game can happen. The Miami losing one or two, sure. I don't see the Browns losing a game. I don't. I think they get the fifth seed. I think Baltimore will finish the third team in the division. They won't make the playoff, but they will finish the third team in the division.
Yeah, I think I had to go back on this because a lot of people were like, "Oh, Ace, you're like a Browns fan or something like that." And I've always given the Browns their respect. I think since the OBJ trade, when we first all came together on Sonny's channel, we all kind of gave our thoughts and we all had respect for the Browns. And I think what happened is people saw that at one point people were saying the Browns were going to go in the Super Bowl, and it wasn't just Browns fans. It was literally they were the hottest team in the league. They were this year's Tampa Bay Buccaneers last season. And I think a lot of people just forgot that. And, the issue on why they didn't live up to the hype was the offensive line and Freddie Kitchens, like Quincy has kind of talked about on this show. So, to me, it's not a surprise that this team, is doing this. I said that they would go 10-6. I think that I also had the Ravens following them. The only team that I was wrong on, or two teams I was wrong on, was the Bengals. Obviously, we didn't go 9-7, and the Steelers. I had them at 8-8. So I think that we always all knew in this division that it was talented enough that these teams would be able to compete in the NFL. I mean, AFC North to me is one of the best divisions in football. Another thing that I said in that prediction was that I thought that we could possibly send 2 to 3 teams to the playoffs, and it's looking like that could possibly play out. So it's not a surprise to me that the Browns are earning their respect because they got the coaching part right. They got Baker Mayfield playing how he should. They've got the guys around him. I think the biggest shock, though, is that they're doing this all without Odell Beckham Jr. I do think that they don't need Odell Beckham Jr. anymore. I don't know if I want to jump out on that ledge, but it seems in these last couple of games that the Browns actually do not need OBJ. I'm not saying to trade him tomorrow, but I don't think that he's indicative of how good this team is.
Yeah, with the whole OBJ thing, they would probably have to draft like a rookie or something at wide receiver. Like, you're gonna need more at the wide receiving position right now because like when Richard had those 2 fumbles, you couldn't even bench him because you had nobody literally there to take a spot. So you do need some more depth in the wide receiving room. I do expect them to draft like 1 wide receiver. Odell, the whole thing with Odell, you got all the flexibility in the world with that one though. Like, if you come back and he's really a problem next year and he doesn't help, okay, you could just trade him during the season. Right. You're not going to get anything for him in the offseason anyway, so you might as well wait to see what he does in the season. But as far as like earning respect, there's 2 different levels of respect. I think they should get respect for this season, the kind of team they've been. But you talk about organizational success, when people stop finally making these Browns jokes or stop expecting the Browns to do Browns things, that's going to take a couple years. That's going to take Kevin Stefanski creating a program, having a winning team for the next 2-3 years. I mean, like, look at for the Rams. It took a Super Bowl appearance and 2-3 seasons of good football for us to forget about the Jeff Fisher era. And they were just average in the Jeff Fisher era. The Browns have been destitute for about 20 years. Yeah, and if you want to, and if for Browns fan, if you want security, if you want to stop feeling insecure about having a good season and stinking right after that, if Kevin Stefanski can put 2-3 good winning seasons together, Baker Mayfield can continue to look like a franchise quarterback and be a franchise quarterback, that's where you start to fix the long-term problems that have plagued this franchise. That's when you find stability. That's when people start saying, hey, the Browns, that's a team you can't just put you can never rely on them to just be the Browns. Not since they hired Stefanski. It's been a different book. It's going to take some time. I know it's going to be frustrating for Browns fans, but this year, we're just talking about respect for this season. Oh, yeah, there's nobody I don't think there's a lot of teams out there who want to play the Browns in the first round. I do think there are some teams out there that might want Buffalo, that might want the the Steelers. I think, be careful about how much you want the Steelers, because they could come out there and surprise you. They've done it before, but there's nobody out here that's dying to play the Browns in the first round. Maybe Tennessee because we blew them out, but I don't think anybody's dying for that matchup.
And I will say, as far as like, hey, when are people going to stop expecting the Browns to be the Browns? I do think a playoff win this year would go a long way to get that out of the way. If you see this Browns team win a playoff game, again, this franchise has never won since their expansion has never won a playoff game. I think that would go a long way to it as well. All right, we got another super chat here. That's right, I forgot about this one. Dr. Demolition, $2 super chat says, "Hey Quincy, hold this L for me." Gonna guess that's a Ravens fan.
By the way, quarters from my Audi's card. Yeah. Thank you for that.
By the way, we got a ton of super chats tonight, so thank you to everyone who's already written in. Thank you so much.
We need more likes.
Shout out Ravens Nation. Y'all
that's right.
Really brought it to me today.
We have nearly 350 people watching live. I appreciate all of you watching live. You can hit that like button for us. That does help us spread the word about the show. Okay, let me give you my thoughts real quick before we wrap this thing up. Baltimore and Cleveland, I have had to stop myself multiple times on today's show from saying that the Browns won this football game. When I introed the game, I almost said that the Browns won, because honestly, that's kind of how I feel about the game. I come out of this game feeling better about Cleveland than Baltimore. And I know that that's weird because Baltimore now is going to probably make the playoffs. So obviously you should feel very good about Baltimore. But, I guess it's just the expectations I had going into this game. I expected, as I said, I predicted Lamar and Baltimore to win, and I expected them to have success offensively. So it's no shock to me that they were able to move the ball pretty much at will in this game. And they did a great job, by the way. Ted Wynn wrote a great article. If you have access to The Athletic, you should read his article. Ted Wynn did a great job breaking down the counter play that the Ravens have used in the last couple weeks and used very successfully last night in that football game. The Ravens offense was very efficient, and Lamar was very good in this game. But I'm going to go with Quincy here and give some credit to Trace McSorley, because that drive that he had was actually decently impressive. And he didn't have to do much. He had to complete one pass to Willie Snead, but that may have legitimately saved the game for them, because the Browns had just taken the lead. There was no threat of a pass from McSorley whatsoever, so they were keying on the run, and the running game was still going through Gus and Dobbins. But that third down conversion to Willie Snead was huge. When the Browns get the ball back there, they may go up 8. And hell, you never even know. Stefanski was playing the analytics in this game. Not only did he go for it in his own territory on fourth down, but he also did the thing where when you're down by 14, you go for 2, and it worked. And again, that's all math, that's all analytics, and Stefanski's playing that. I give him a ton of credit. So, they may have scored and then gone up by 9 to put this game completely out of reach for Baltimore. And now the one thing I will say about McSorley is that the third down play, I know we all talk about the great play for Lamar on fourth down, but that third down play, I can't imagine that that's really what Greg Roman wanted, was a McSorley keeper on that third down when he got essentially sacked by Myles Garrett. Can't imagine that's how he designed that one up, but that is how it ended up, and not a great play call. Problem I have with Baltimore in this game is the defense. Right? Again, I expected that their offense would come out and play really well. I did not see this coming from their defense. Again, especially a secondary that's supposed to be as good as they are. Now, I know they have injuries, but one guy goes down here, one guy goes down there. Boy, you don't give up 42 points because of that. This is supposed to be a very good defense. Again, the pressure, Baker did a very good job of eluding it. The secondary, though, I thought didn't play well, and their linebacking core still leaves a lot to be desired. Patrick Queen in coverage still leaves a ton to be desired. On the other side, for the Browns, again, I come away, if I'm a Browns fan, I'm thrilled with how Baker Mayfield played. I'm thrilled with how this team played in adversity, came back from behind multiple times in this game. The problem that, for the Browns right now is it's problems on the margins, right? They scored early. Clock management at the end of this game was probably not the best. You'd probably like Kareem Hunt to go down in that spot and not score the touchdown.
So real quick, let me jump in. The clock management at the end of the first half.
Yes.
Very crucial, because it gave them the chance because I think Baltimore scored on a terrible play by BJ Goodson, where he just completely just forgets about Lamar Jackson and everybody who has the ball's existence, runs towards the pile in the offensive line, leaves a hole wide open for Lamar to go 40 yards there. Yeah. But also there was a crucial kind of holding call on Donovan Peoples-Jones. Again, you're running these young wide receivers out there. You're going to get stupid penalties like that against Marcus Peters and against Marlon Humphreys. And then that put the Browns out of field goal range, put the Browns out of let's drain some clock here range, and gave them the ball back. Again, it's the tiniest of things that cost you this game.
Yeah, no, that's the problem. That's exactly right. And that is the issue for the Browns right now. It's in the margins, right? They missed an early kick early. Cody Parkey missed that early kick, right? Baker threw the interception in the third quarter. There's problems on the margins, but the majority of the team is on offense is playing terrifically well. And I think you have to be very excited. And the other thing for Baker, right, is they threw that interception in the third quarter. Not only did they not punt after that, they scored touchdowns on every single drive they had from that point, save for the final one. So, responding to adversity, another big key for the Browns in this game. Both teams, I think, moral victories are stupid, but you can legitimately, for both teams, come out of this game very excited about where your team is right now, because Baltimore is probably going to make the playoffs at this point. And it would take a silly loss at some point in their season for them not to make it. And for Cleveland, they are continuing to play better week in and week out. Yes, you have problems defensively, but you knew you had problems. Again, there's a matchup thing. You knew you had problems against Baltimore. You knew Baltimore was a bad matchup for that defense, and Baltimore. And that's right.
Denzel Ward and Ronnie Harrison back.
You get some of your guys back. That defense much better at full strength. All right. Do we have anything else we want to talk about here before we wrap this thing up? We're good to go here. All right. I want to give a shout out. Thank you to everyone who gave a super chat today. Really do appreciate that. As I said, it really does help us here on the show. And thank you to everyone who's given a like on the video. Ace, let people know where they can find your work.
Yeah, sure. You can find me at New Stripe City on Twitter. You can also find me shopping for billboards. Let's get Zach Taylor out of there. But in all seriousness, you can catch me here on the AFC North Talk.
Sonny?
SCG Sports everywhere, guys. I do an IG live on the halftime of the Ravens. I do live streams on Mondays. So SCG Sport on all your social media platform. And let's keep it rolling, Ravens. Big trust.
Disgusting. Quincy, how about you?
After 4 weeks of silence, they're back out in full force, and then they're like, "Oh, look at the Browns fans, quiet when you lose." Like, where were you against when you lost to the New England Patriots? But hey, got to take the L's when it do. But I think we learned a lot about Baker. I think that's going to come in handy if we ever see you guys back at the Dog Pound. I'm hoping for an early 2021 matchup with the Baltimore Ravens. Let's have a 2020 playoffs. Let's have it. All upsets. Somehow the 5 seed gets a home game. I'm ready for it. I want to see it. I might want that at M&T Bank Stadium because you guys don't win those games at M&T Bank Stadium, but you do on the road, so I got to give you the credit for it. But yeah, you can find me on youtube.com/Quincy Carrier. Send your little goofy comments there, Raven fans. For Bengals fans mad at me because I'm telling the truth about the Bengals, you can send them little comments down there too. You can also follow me on Twitter @Quincy. Send it all down there. I know you guys acted like I got PTSD or like I'm hurt. I'm fine. I actually feel good. I'm looking forward to Sunday Night Football against the Giants. I'm wondering what that game's going to look like. I'm looking forward to, securing the playoff spot because you know what? The Ravens won that game. They needed it. But the Browns, nothing really changed for them. And that's the beautiful part of it. And that's why you beat Tennessee, so you can have that opportunity there. But yeah, you can find me in those places. You can also find me starting to get more and more aggressive at Tony as the weeks go on and as that Browns-Steelers Week 17 game comes on. We've had a peaceful alliance, especially during that Ravens losing streak. We were rolling with each other. We were kind of the tag team partner, but it's time for that one. It's time for me to super kick him through the glass window, if you know what I mean. It's about that time for the heel turn on Tony.
Mike Tyson DX.
You said Quincy about the Browns, nothing's changed, and that's okay. I mean, I would say the same thing about the Steelers, but it's not okay. I mean, that is the issue here in Pittsburgh. Nothing is changing. So that Week 17 matchup, not looking forward to it. You guys can find me on Twitter @Steeler Country. You can find me on Locked On Steelers every Tuesday with my friend Chris Carter. I was on there today. If you want to hear more about my conspiracy theory that Ben and Fichtner hate each other, we did a whole segment on there, so make sure you give that a listen. And of course, you can find me here 5:45 p.m. Eastern time, Tuesdays and Thursdays. AFC North Talk. We are live talking all about the AFC North, and we'll be back at you on Thursday to preview Week 15 here in the AFC North. See you then.
Have you ever felt? Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.